Hi guys, welcome back to EmpoweRN. My name is Caroline Porter Thomas. Thank you so much for watching my YouTube channel, EmpoweRN. So I wanted to actually get on here and answer one of your guys' questions because I really felt like I had some good tips for you. And I also wanted to encourage you that if you have a question about becoming a nurse or what it's like to be a nurse or just a general question about nursing or to me or anything, go ahead and post your request below, and I'm going to try to have more videos like this in addition to the content videos, because the content videos are obviously much harder to create and much more intense. So it's taking me a lot longer to upload, and I don't want it to take me that long to upload. So I don't want to go that long without seeing you guys. So I have a question today that I thought was pretty appropriate considering recent events. You'll understand what I mean as soon as I read it, so let me just read it to you. This is from X Little Lover, nice name, ha. Just kidding. Thanks for all the videos you do. I'm switching my major to nursing and have found them very helpful. I was wondering if you could make a video discussing violence towards nurses by patients. How common do you think it is? What units have the most violent patients and least? And how to handle it, if you have any experience with the issues, etc. I've seen a few articles recently on patients attacking nurses, so it's making me anxious and I'd like more information. So like I said, I think that this is a very timely video request considering the recent events that made national news, which was the patient attacking the nurses in Minnesota. Okay, so your first question is, how common do you think it is? It's common, like I would say violence like that, like what happened in Minnesota. I've never seen it. I've been a nurse for 7 years. I've never seen that. And you have to keep in mind that it did make national news. So I'm not like, and this is the first real violent event that I've ever heard of. Now it was extremely scary for me. I mean, watching that video with those nurses, I mean, I cannot imagine what I would have done in that situation. So in general, I've never seen anything like that before. Now, little violent events, yes. I would say little violent events, or maybe even threats, are pretty common. I don't want to scare you, but yeah, they are pretty common, but before you get upset, just hear me out. It's common enough to where every hospital where I've worked at has a special code that if you feel that a patient is getting violent or you feel threatened, you can pick up any phone in the hospital and you can call a code. The hospital that I work at now is called a code gray. It could be called a code green or anything. Whatever it's called, what that code means is that a certain group of people are going to come and assess the situation and the patient, and you're gonna have help. So you're never really alone. At the hospital that I work at, the people that come are the nursing supervisor, we have several security guards, people from the psychiatric unit, because we have a psychiatric unit at the hospital. Not every hospital has one. Have there been times when I've called a code gray? Absolutely. I've felt threatened, or I felt like the patient was potentially going to harm himself. Absolutely. So I would say that type of like much more minor than what we saw in Minnesota it's pretty common, but not like every day. Like I might experience it once every 3 months or once every 6 months, or you know, maybe on the unit it could happen more often. Like maybe I might have to help a nurse that's being, you know, having to deal with a situation. So I would say that that's common, but it's a lot more minor than what you're seeing. And when I say it, it might be like a patient trying to punch a nurse, but that's the wrong way to say it, because usually it's like patients with Alzheimer's and we're trying to do something to them, like we're trying to clean them or we're trying to give them medication or something, and they're just trying to defend themselves because who are you touching me? I don't know who you are, this kind of thing. Well, let me go on to your next question. I personally think that they would be the most common, would have to be the emergency department, because the emergency department is the first point of entry where we see the patient. So it's where the patients are considered to be most unstable because we just don't know them that well. Yeah, I would just say the emergency department because, yeah, that's the first place that the patient could be. I mean, anybody could walk into the emergency department, anybody, and anything could happen there, which is why it's not my favorite place to work. I like more structure and knowing what's going to happen. The second top place where I would say it would be the most common, and this is just Caroline's list, this isn't like an official list, But I would have to say, like, if you have a psychiatric unit, then that's probably the place where you would see it the most. I had no idea, but there's actually psychiatric units. And then sometimes there's places called intensive psychiatric units, which is where the more dangerous patients go. So as an agency nurse, they always ask me, like, hey, would you like to go here? Would you like to go there? So I pretty much try out a little bit of everything, and I have been multiple times to the intensive psych care unit. I would go again. I have no problem with it. I think it's fine. As far as like my job is there, I basically give medications. I'm behind a glass all day, a really, really, really thick glass. So I really feel very safe there. It's actually pretty boring for me because I just give medications. And so anyways, if I want an easy day, then that's not a bad place to go. It's easy for me. I would not say it's easy for the staff that work there because they have a lot of other paperwork and stuff like that to do, but for a person that doesn't go there very often, it's an easy day for me. But I have seen some incidences. Obviously, you have a lot of patients there that could be there involuntarily, so they can get very upset. I mean, we're taking away all of their belongings basically, besides clothes. They can't have anything that they could potentially harm themselves with. They can't leave. So yeah, I've seen 2 incidences where patients got violent. However, on those units, they expect that. So there's usually 2 or 3 extremely large men that are there just for that. Like I said, I stay behind the glass all day. I don't know, like I guess it could happen there, definitely. So your next question was basically how I handled an experience. So I have a few experiences that I could share with you. About 3 months ago, I had a patient, thought he was in Cuba. You know, I live in Miami and there's a lot of Cubans that live here. So I had an 86-year-old patient that lived in Cuba and he thought he needed to go see his mother. So he was screaming for his mother from his bed for hours, and we would just go in there, try to reorient him, and it just wasn't happening. He had advanced Alzheimer's, dementia. Cutest little thing, but just not there at all. And so I was just working in the nursing station, and my coworker came up to me and was like, hey, I just saw your patient get on the elevator. And I was like, he got on the elevator? Are you serious? You let him get on the elevator? And they're like, I'm sorry, the door just closed. 2 other nurses were there with me, and so we all run to the elevator, and the elevator's gone. We're like pushing the buttons, and one of the nurses runs down the stairs, which is out of the way. When I get off the elevator though, I am starting to look for my patient, and we go, so I'm looking, I'm like, where would he probably go? And there was an exit. So we went out the exit. I mean, he was probably a block away. Like, I could barely see him. So like, we're just like running for him, like me and this other male nurse. It was an experience. Thankfully he came back, but when he came back, he was a little bit more aggressive. And so, at that point, we'd already called the code. So, I mean, the way I dealt with this was I got other people with me. I just make sure that I'm not dealing with this by myself. You know, he calmed down, we got him back to the room, we got him some food, he ate, and he was fine after that. But, you know, that was one incident that I had. Actually, if I could say it, I do think that one thing that is more prevalent is verbal abuse. Yeah, definitely verbal abuse is a big issue. I'll give you an example of that. So the other day at 7 o'clock, I'm getting reports. The nurse is giving me a report, and I have 3 patients that are on Dilaudid every 3 hours, and they want it on the dot. One of them was due at 7:30. In my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, is there any way you can give this? Because as an agency nurse, it's hard because I have to go to each unit and get activated for each unit. Sometimes it's an issue of trying to find the charge nurse or trying to find out how I need to get access. And sure enough, on this day, it took me a while to get the access that I needed. So I was a good solid 30 minutes late giving this patient pain medication, and when I walked in there, he was letting me know that in every way possible, saying the most horrific things to me, about me, you know. So I know the way a lot of nurses deal with it is they stand their ground and they say, you cannot disrespect me like this, you need to treat me with respect, you can't talk to me like this. I really admire people like that, because for some reason when I say it, it just doesn't come out right. It makes them more upset. So I've never really been the type of person that can communicate that way. I just do what I always do, and it just works for me. I just get in there, and I'm really quiet, and of course he's saying everything under the sun to me. Yeah, you know, I do. I don't feel good when he's saying that to me. It makes my, you know, blood boil a little bit. But the best way that I know how to deal with it is just to give him medication and get out of there. And, you know, make sure you keep an eye on them so that they're okay, but go back after a while. You know, just do your job and spend as little time as you can with that person in the safest way. You know, make sure that they're fine. You know, by not really fighting towards them verbally because they're not in the right state of mind. I mean, maybe they genuinely are in pain. Of course, we could have patients that are pain drug seekers, but you know, I'm not the judge of that, you know? I'm not gonna judge people like that. I've never had pain, and maybe that's just luck on my part, so I'm not going to judge people like that. But what I did, and this works for me, is I just go in there next time I have to go in there, and I'm just pleasant with them, you know? And he, just like a lot of my other patients, not all of them, said, you know, I'm so sorry for the way I treated you. And I say something along the lines of this every time. I'm like, I forgive you, but please forgive yourself, because I feel like people are really hard on themselves, especially when they know that they haven't behaved properly. And I just say, like, try to learn from this experience so that you don't hurt other people. And then that's it. And that usually works out really well for me. So, you know, it might not be the best way to deal with it, but it works for me. So, I don't know. Okay, so I know I gave you a lot of information. I mean, those are two situations that I've been through out of many. There's definitely situations where nurses are hit, they're kicked, you know, verbally called, all kinds of things. Usually it's not that bad. Usually it's like a minor thing. So in general, like, these are like the things that I do. I made a little list. If I suspect that a patient could be violent, either verbally or physically, of course, then I don't go in there alone. I ask my charge nurse or another nurse to go in there with me, especially if there's like a male nurse available or a male doctor available, then I'll ask them to go in with me really quick if I suspect that I could be in danger. If something happens, call for help. You're not alone. There's so many people in the hospital. If you can't get to a phone, just yell help. I mean, we do that all the time. Just, you know, you'll hear every now and then, help, you know, like, so it works, you know, like, there's nothing wrong with doing that, and we do it all the time. Another thing is just to make sure you call the code. If you really think that it's necessary, just go ahead and call it. It's not a big deal. It never really is. Even if you call it and it's not a big deal, then everybody will just leave. It's not a big deal. Don't ever feel like you can't call something because you're not 100% sure if it's an emergency. Like, just go ahead and call it and we'll figure it out later. I think that the final thing that you're asking is, do I feel safe on the job? Honestly, there are no guarantees in life, and the hospital is no exception to that. Do I feel unsafe in the hospital? I feel more safe in the hospital than I would doing a lot of other things. There's not really any time that I feel really in danger, you know, as of yet, and I hope that that doesn't change. And, you know, I think that because of the Minnesota situation, security is getting even more kind of beefed up, and there's more emphasis put on the safety for nurses. And hopefully we will never see another situation like that again, and hopefully the nurses in Minnesota that did have to deal with this are okay now, because I can't imagine what that is like. I really do hope that this video request helped you. Like I said, if you have a video request that you want me to answer your question, just let me know, and I will do my best to answer it for you. So, alright, well, thanks again for your comment, and thanks again for watching my videos, and for just being there. Alright, I love you guys so much. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.